Yay! Hi. Welcome, Monica. Just give me 1 second. I'm just trying to make sure my social media life is set up and that I am live on Facebook. Uh,
Okay.
let's see. Yay! Okay, so we are live on Facebook now. Let me just share it on a couple pages. Um, Yay! Okay, so we are live on Facebook now. Sorry. Let me just share. Hi, Facebook world. Hi, Samantha. Welcome. Hello. Hi, Samantha. So welcome.
Hear me?
I
Can
can
you
hear
hear me
you.
now?
Yeah.
Yay!
We're going
How's
to.
it going?
It's going great. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to get started. I'm just going to share this on
Yeah.
Facebook. Um, and then just 1 second though.
Okay.
Okay. Just bear with me 1 second. Let me just share it
You
on a
are
couple.
totally fine.
Um, all right, so we are good to go. So welcome everybody. Welcome to um, the Diversity Wine Route. I'm Tuanni Price. I'm owner of Zuri Wine Tasting, and I have Samantha Sommelier. I don't know how I should introduce you, but yeah. So she's a wonderful person. I met her on Instagram actually, and I'm so happy that I met her. And I looked at her website, and I was like, oh my gosh, she does the same exact thing that I do for the most part. We do a lot of similar things. We have a lot in common. And so I'm super excited. How I found her was she posted something about Black Lives Matter. And I was like, so just happy to see that there's so many people, so many allies that we have in the wine world that are not being silent, who are speaking up during this time of unrest. And I'm super excited to meet her. So I'm super excited to have her on the show and talk to her. Thanks again for Monica for joining us. She's joining us. I'm in Cape Town right now. It's 3 o'clock in the morning,
Oh
and
my God. I didn't know that. You are a trooper.
that explains why I was like, oh my goodness. I tried to take a nap, and whenever I take a nap, it just kind of I have to like restart my day all over. But
Well, you
yeah,
look amazing, first of all. I can't believe it's 3 a.m. Oh my goodness.
I was like, let me
Are you
shower.
drinking wine?
I'm not. I think I'm gonna grab some water though. I'm not gonna drink
Yeah,
wine this because it's just
that would be
late.
impressive.
Yeah, that would be very impressive. But so let's get started with the conversation. Let me just expand my screen and then make sure that I can see just in case anybody else is trying to join us. All right, and okay, perfect. So welcome to the show. I mean, and I have this diversity wine route as part of my promotion for Wine Over LA. And basically, I even thought about it before everything just kind of blew out of proportion because it's something that I think about all the time whenever I just think about it all the time because I know it's such a big issue for African American, for women, for Black people to be in the wine industry. The wine industry is historically white male dominated. And I think the landscape is changing, which I'm super excited about. I've been in the industry for 10 years and I've seen a lot of changes. Of course, we have a long way to go, but let's talk about what that route looks like.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm so grateful Instagram brought us together. And I'm sad that it took till, this happening right now for us to connect with each other, but I'm just glad that it did. And like you said, our businesses are so similar, just different worlds apart, which is so funny. And, keeping wine fun and approachable and just wanting everyone to find wines that they love and making it fun and just easy and memorable is exactly what I do with my clients. So I love that, we have that in common. And when I saw that do your, annual wine festival every year, and this year, obviously, it's virtual, but I was curious, are you hoping to do it like in person as like the years go on and,
Oh,
make it?
Oh, for certain, for
Yeah.
certain. I have customers reaching out to me right now saying, like, because we've been doing it for the past, this is the eighth year, so we've been doing it for the
Yeah.
past 7 years in person.
Wow.
And oh my God, Samantha, you should come. It's so much
Is it
fun.
in LA or is it in Cape Town when you
No, it's
have
in
it in
LA.
person?
So it's in LA. I'm going
Oh,
to do it
okay.
in Cape Town though, so come to Cape Town in
Yeah, that's an
2021.
excuse for me
Definitely
to come to
going.
Cape Town.
Yes, it's definitely going to happen in 2021 in Cape Town, but for the past 7 years, it's been in LA. And it's such a super fun event. And so, like you said, making wine fun and approachable, making it accessible to people, that's literally like the basis of my business. And
Mhm.
I remember reading this comment on Facebook. I had did this stupid post or this mass email to these people, and so they were tearing me apart about like, what is she talking about? She teaches wine in a different kind of way, or she, whatever. And I was
Right.
like, they don't understand. I make it so much fun and so approachable. And I think that that's the difference. It sounds like that's the difference with your business, with my business. It's like
Mhm.
we're taking all this snobbery out of wine and we're just bringing in our personalities and our culture. So
Yeah.
Wine Over LA in person, that's exactly what we did. So like Friday night, we have a winemakers dinner where
Mhm.
we invite an African American winemaker out to a restaurant or to last time one time we had it in a like a studio that had a kitchen, and
Oh,
so it was
nice.
really
Yeah.
cool. And
Yeah.
then for their wines, we have a chef come out, and then on Saturday we go for a wine tour. Iris Rideau, she used to own a winery up in Solvang. She was the first Black woman to actually own a tasting room and a fully operating
Wow.
winery, a
And
vineyard and
Solvang,
distillery.
Solvang's so cute. I used to go there when I was growing up in Simi Valley. So I've been to Solvang a few times.
Oh my goodness. Well, next time we're both in LA, or next time you're in Arizona, come to LA and
I
I'll have to
know.
show you Solvang in like the Tuanni kind of way, like as a
I
grown
would
up,
love
because
that.
it's so
I would
fun.
love that. And I think is she hosting the cooking and sip night? Because I just signed up for that one.
Yay! That's gonna be
I
so
just
fun.
bought my
She is.
ticket for that.
Yes, so she is. And so like she doesn't own the winery anymore, but I
Okay.
have access to her library wines. So I have
Ooh,
access to the wines that were made when she actually owned the property. And it's like historical. So she's going to host the sip and shop and
yeah, I'm excited.
not sip and shop, I'm sorry. Cooking and sipping. That's what we're
Cooking and
calling
sip,
it.
yeah.
Cooking and sipping because she has this amazing story.
And then for the wines, I don't think I added them, but can I go back and add the wines and then you ship them to me?
Yep.
Or how does that work? Yeah. Okay.
As long as my distributor can ship in Arizona. I'm not sure if Arizona
Okay.
he can ship to 42 different states. I'm not
I
sure if
bet you
Arizona.
Arizona is one of them. Usually, like
Yeah.
we're like with the California and the New York, those like main hubs. So that should work. I'm gonna go add that because if she's gonna be talking about those wines specifically with the food, then I have to be drinking them too.
Yes, and I will send you a link to add that. I was actually going to send people who didn't sign up for the wine. I was actually going to send them another message and say, "Hey, this is your last chance if you want to actually get the wines."
Yeah,
So
no,
you,
that's
you can
great.
sign up for the weekend without the wines, or you
Okay.
can sign up with the wines. Um, the final event has 12 different wines included in that event. And so some people are probably like, that's a lot of wine for like one person, right? Which I understand completely.
Good
I
for
mean,
me. I can do a bottle a day.
it depends on who you are. Like if
For
you have a
some
poor
people, it's too much. Not me.
yeah, some people it's too much. But then I also said that you can always like split it with your girlfriends. So like
Exactly.
if you pay for like if you pay for that Sunday finale event and you buy the case of wine, I'm
Yeah.
actually giving you 4 different unique logins. So you can give one to each of your girlfriends, and then before the event, you guys can just kind of split the wine, come over to each other's house, or somebody
Yeah.
come over to somebody's house and just put them in like empty wine bottles or mason
Right.
jars or something.
And just,
And
yeah.
then you can split them, or if you guys aren't social distancing to that extreme, like I do have some friends over sometimes, you can
Yeah.
just have them over and you guys can taste the wines.
Yeah. I
So
feel like whenever my friends get together, we like say we're not going to drink a ton, but we go through like a case of wine. Like,
right, you always say, you know what, we'll drink like 3 bottles, but
like
then
who
by
are
the
we kidding?
yeah, it's like 3 bottles a person. Yeah, but
Exactly.
anyway, but it's just gonna be so much fun. So Friday night is Iris, and we're gonna be sipping and cooking with Iris. And like I said, she's a part of history, so I'm super excited about that. And just learning her story and learning what it was like in the wine industry is going to be so much fun for everybody. I can listen to her story over and over again personally. And then on Saturday, I'm super excited about Saturday because Saturday we have a Native American winemaker. So we
Oh,
have Tara Gomez, and she's also based in Santa Ynez. And so she makes wine for Keto Wines. Keto Wines
okay.
is owned by the Chumash Indian Reservation. They
Wow.
actually own this winery and they produce this wine. She's the winemaker. So she's actually going to be on Saturday. We're going to do a virtual tasting and tour with her
Love.
of Keto Wines. And so
Yeah.
I'm super excited about that. And then on Sunday, that's the finale event. So that's the event with 12 different wines and 12 different wines that are made by women, Latinos,
Mhm.
Black people, just like anybody you could think of in the wine industry, we have them in this 12 pack. So it's super, and I carefully curated this 12 pack of wines to make sure that there was a good variety of like red wines, white wines, sparkling wines, even rosé, and we have a sweet wine in there. So super
Oh
excited.
man, I'm gonna have to get that case, and I have no one to share it with, and that is not a problem. I am good. I'm just good having it all to myself. No, I'm just kidding. I'll invite my friends over.
Right?
I'll be nice. I'll be nice.
So much fun when you can drink with other people, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, so
definitely better
that's
than sitting by yourself.
So that's diversity wine route. And I mean, I've been doing this for 7 years and this will be the 8th year. I didn't
Right.
want to cancel the event. I said I wanted to have it still, but how can I have it so that, you know what, I'm responsible and I'm practicing
Mhm.
social distancing. Last thing I
Mhm.
wanted to do was have this wonderful party on a yacht and people
Mhm.
have a great time. But then the next week, people are like, I'm sick. I got
They're sick.
corona on this
Yeah.
yacht party.
Not
So,
worth it. No. Yeah.
not
I think
worth it.
taking it virtual though, just in general is such a great idea because you're able to connect with more people that couldn't have, came to LA and stuff. Cause like I'm in Arizona right now and you know what I mean? So I feel like, yeah, it's been a struggle going virtual, but there's been pros to it too. And I'm sure like you've been doing so many virtual tastings lately. And I've been like meeting so many people across the world. Like you're in Cape Town right now, so it's definitely been cool in that way. Not saying COVID's cool, but like, the
I
connecting and being online, you know what I mean? There's like pros to
know.
it.
I totally know what you mean, and I think that's probably like being a woman in the industry. That's how we think, right? And when I'm looking at the virtual events, most of the virtual events, and I'm seeing that on a consistent basis, they are run by women, right? And I think that's what we bring to the table is because
Yeah,
like we're creative. Women are like we're not going to starve. Hey, we feed
right.
families
We're
all
gonna
over the
do it
world.
better.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. It really has been, women driven. And I mean, going back to just the diversity, I think it kind of sucks that like this is the first time I've even heard about this event. You know what I mean? As like a white woman in the industry, I'm upset that like, I personally haven't been doing a better job vetting out, diversity, like diverse events. I'm just doing what's kind of come my way, whether it's, been naturally in an email, like SomCon is like what I think about is like that national event in San Diego. And it's like,
Yeah, and have
last
you been
year,
to some
was it
con?
2 years ago in San Diego? I forget. I think it was
Yeah,
2 years
it was
ago.
2 years ago in San Diego.
Yeah, I was at that one. I got the Young Leaders Scholarship for that one for the Psalms. And just thinking back at it, there wasn't one like Black person on that Young Leaders Scholarship um, attendee list. So
Yeah.
that's
And
something that obviously like I should have put together sooner. But now that it, I'm being more aware of that, like that's just not going to stand for me. You know what I mean? Like if I get invited to something again, I'm going to ask to see the list and be like, okay, who's going on this trip? You know what I mean? Like if it's
and
every single person is white, like that's not okay. Like,
that's the beauty of this whole thing of having these conversations, right?
yeah,
Because it's like sometimes we live in our silos and we're not necessarily aware sometimes,
yeah,
right? And so having these conversations are great because now you're aware. So now
yeah,
once you become aware, then it's kind of like, okay, now that I'm aware, I have a sense of responsibility.
yeah,
But it's okay if you're not aware. But that's the beauty of these conversations. And that's why I'm so glad that you came on
yeah,
online. You wanted to have this conversation because it's like, what can we do to ensure awareness? What can we do to point it out without placing blame, without saying,
right,
you're having fun over there and you didn't invite us, but like,
right.
hey, listen, like, how can we make sure everybody's included and everybody
Mhm.
has a voice?
Yeah, no, I love that and going about it that kind of friendly way too. And just, I mean, I don't know, do you have a partner? So I do all my stuff on my own. So like it's almost like for me, I need to be better at like connecting and going to more networking events because I do work by myself. It's like I'm not branching myself out with, diversity. It's just me. So it's like I need to be, doing my part on, going out of my way to connect with more people, which I wasn't doing before in general, even. So I think this has just, woken me up to like, I never would have found you unless all of this stuff wasn't going on. And I should be connecting with more people like you. You're doing what I'm doing. You're doing more than I'm doing. Like I would love to host more webinars and just, sell more things on my website and just, be this more online driven service. And I just limit myself sometimes. Like I don't, go out there and see what else is out there. I'm in my own little world.
Yeah, and I think that we are a lot of times in our own world, right? But I
Mhm.
don't have a partner, so I feel you. Like I was telling somebody the other day, like I sent this. So I'm trying to get people to come to this diversity
Mhm.
wine round. I'm trying to get people to sign up, and so I did this. I did hire like a little, not a little. I hired an assistant out here to
Right.
help me, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, just send this message to people if they have wine in their name on Instagram. Send them this
Yeah.
message.
Yeah. Just a
Don't judge.
mass target. I think that was good.
Right? And so she did that, and this one woman came back, and I don't know. And then I looked online, and I said, Black influencers, and so I said, take this list, send the people on this list, right? So this
Yeah.
one influencer, she was like a mom influencer. And so she was like, well, you didn't even address me by name. She like ripped me apart in this like Instagram. And I appreciate it because
Yeah.
it was a lesson. Like, this is how
Yeah.
you approach people on Instagram.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? I have a small business. I'm just trying to tell people about that bit.
Yeah. It
So
sucks to be like, when someone does it attacking you, but then after that happens, you're like, all right, let's adjust, and do it better the next time. But like, yeah, it kind of sucks when they're like
no,
attacking you.
I didn't feel like she was attacking me. I felt like she was schooling me, but I felt like, damn, she's making some good
Yeah,
points. But the
right.
thing about this, I feel like it's kind of like the same way with the diversity. If you don't know, you just don't know. Like you're just kind
Yeah,
of like going on living your life. But then like
right.
once you know, so now once I know, like for me to go out and send like these mass messages and not address people by name and not make sure that they fit, my business model,
Personalize it. Yeah.
it would be a disservice. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, I don't have an assistant. I do it all on my own too.
No, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot when you're like your marketing person, your
Yeah.
accounting person, your customer service person, like
Oh, the
everything.
finance part, I hate. I'm like, on the creative side, if I could just get like someone to just handle all my like, money side of things, I'm like, perfect. So that would be my goal is, have a business partner who's like the brains of the math side. And then I'm just on social media doing my creative aspect.
Like that's what I tell people all the time. Like I could plan an event to the T. Like I can plan an event from when you walk in that door to when you leave that door. You're gonna have an amazing time, right? But for
Yeah.
me, it's the marketing part. It's the selling part. That's the hard part.
It is
That's
hard. It's really hard to sell it when it's you. It's more personal. It's not like we're selling like a cookie, like a product. You know what I mean? Like we're selling ourselves. Like we're the ones doing the event, hosting it, doing the tasting. So it's like they have to want the service and then they have to like us on
Yeah.
top of it. So it's like if someone, right, you know, like if it was a negative experience, it's like it's personal because it was us. So I know, like, you know, just from talking to you for just this length of time, like you're really like a people person and friendly and have like this positive, you know, aura about you. And I feel like that's like, you know, what makes it good when we're doing our tastings. Like that's why, like, yeah, we're knowledgeable, but we also are like chill about it. And like we just
Like
make
you
it
taste
fun.
your homegirl. Yeah, like
Yeah,
you're tasting. Like, I'm like, I
exactly.
can't stand that. I'm like, I cannot wait to taste with you. And I was at SomCom 2 years ago in San Diego,
Oh,
and
so you were at that one. Okay.
yeah, I'm so upset that we didn't connect. I think it was 2 years ago, because they had it 2 years, and they might have it three. They might just do it now in San Diego. I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was two
Yeah,
years
you're
ago.
right. I think they did do it like the past 2 or 3 years in San Diego, and now I'm forgetting which year I was there. But
Yeah, so
yeah,
it wasn't this past year for sure. Maybe it was that year. I don't know if it was
the one
the year
before.
before that or the year before that. I don't know. Everything
It's
starts
one of
to
them. It all kind of blends together.
but I mean, when you think about things like SomCom, so when I first started in the industry, I was going to the Society of Wine Educators
Right.
conference. And that conference, thousands of people, just like SomCom. And when I first started going, I promise you, there was like one of maybe four Black people in the entire conference. And now when I go to these wine conferences, I'm seeing more and more African American people. I'm seeing more Latino people. So it's
Mhm.
kind of cool to see how the landscape of this whole wine industry is changing.
Right.
Um, yeah,
I
it's
like
like
that you've seen
evolving
that
right now.
progression. You know, I like that, you know, it's actually gotten better and you've like seen that for yourself, which that's like so good to hear. And I mean, now I'm grateful I'll be more cautious of it too and be more aware of it. And, you know, like even though we work by ourselves, you know, when we do go to those events, like I'll do a better job at like, you know, meeting new friends and like sitting at a diverse table and not just like sitting by myself and the one friend I already know, you know. And I feel like you and I are outgoing, so like we could do that, but it's just even more of a thing I'm just trying to get better at. And you know, for example, the diversity wine route, I want to share it, you know, with my followers and get people who aren't just, you know, influencers and then or in the wine industry, but just people who just enjoy wine. Like I'm sure a lot of your clients are like mine where they don't know a lot about wine. They just want you to break it down and make it a little bit more fun. They love it. They just don't really know how to buy it or anything. So I want to
Yeah,
target those people because they'll love this.
yeah, and that's what I love about my clients, though. Don't you love that about my our clients? So my clientele is this person who's like, I don't know a lot about wine, but I want to know about wine. Like I
Yeah.
want to sound like a pro, and I drink
Yeah.
wine, and I'm like, perfect. Let me help you, girl. Let me show
Yeah.
you the way. They're
Exactly.
like, and I don't ask them a lot of questions. So I have some people in California who work for me. Um, I do this thing where I train them how to do these in-home wine tastings,
Oh, nice.
and I say, don't ask the customer a lot of questions. You don't need to ask them exactly what they want. You don't need to ask them what they like. Because for me, at that point, it's not important. People hire me because they want me to tell them what you know what I mean? They want me to show them what they could possibly like. And they
Right.
want me to make it easy for them. They don't call me up and they don't want me to give them a survey and to ask them a ton of questions. They literally want me to come out and say, hey, listen, this is this kind of wine, and this is what you should, pick up in this wine, and this is what you would like in this wine if you like this. And then if
Yeah.
this is the kind of wine. And so I really love my customers for that reason. And then
Yeah.
they follow me. And then they like a year later, I know there's been customers who've come to I used to teach at this art gallery in Inglewood. And customers would come and they would say, I only like sweet wine. I'm sorry, but that's just what I like. And I'm like, okay, just take this ride with me. And then
Right.
a year later, I see them. They're like, oh my God, I only drink red wines now.
We're
Like,
drinking
I'm
like a
really
Bordeaux.
obsessed.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that too. When they actually get adventurous after meeting you and doing a tasting and their palate gets more defined and like we're just there to guide them. I always tell them like before I start a tasting, I don't care if you say you hate this wine. Like I just want
Yeah,
you to find a wine that you love and I want you to understand why you love it or why you hate it. So when you're at a winery or you're at a restaurant, you could convey to the server or whatever like okay, I like acid, I like tannins, I like fruit driven, earth driven. And I'm like, all that like stupid wine lingo actually gets you somewhere. It actually could help you. So yeah, so you're like me, like you break it down, make it approachable, less intimidating. And I love that.
Oh my goodness. I just love you, Samantha. She's like my little sister. She's like my little mini me.
I love you too. I want to meet you in person.
Oh my goodness. And the only reason I say little sister or mini me is just because I know I'm so much older than you are,
Oh,
Samantha.
I
That's the
doubt
only
that.
reason.
I
No
doubt that.
disrespect. No
But
disrespect.
you did say 10 years you've been in the industry. I've been in it for 5. So you have 5 more on me. 5 more years of knowledge.
Yes, but I'm super excited to meet you. And it's just, but these are the conversations I just feel like are so necessary to have. And you find out that you have more in common than you don't. You know what I mean? Like we literally have a lot more in common than we just don't. Can you just give me some insight onto as to like what inspired you for your post about Black Lives Matter? I think you posted a list of African American or Black wine brands.
Yeah, I did Black owned wineries, as many as I could on the Instagram post, and then I led it to like a full list, and then just Black wine women professionals. So I wanted to really focus on the women aspect. So I did that. And what inspired me is like, as you've probably seen, I own a business, I do wine tastings, wine education, but I take my influencing role really seriously. Like, I'm not afraid to call myself an influencer. I mean, I work with brands, I promote products, right? So technically, I am an influencer. And as an influencer, your job isn't just to make life look perfect and pretty and, rainbows and butterflies. And like, I've never been that person. Like, I open up, I talk about mental health. I admit that I've suffered from, eating disorders and anxiety and depression, and how alcohol you have to be careful with it sometimes, like if you struggle
Yeah.
with that. So I try to tell people like, yes, I love my job, I drink wine, it's amazing, but like there's always cons to it. You need to be careful. So I've always been really open and transparent. With that being said, when the Black Lives Movement, not that it just started this year in any means, but when everything started happening and people started sharing and being more vocal, I had to make up my mind on, am I going to say something or do I not? And am I that type of influencer? Am I that type of person? And I'm like, I've always been that person who speaks my mind. Like, I don't care. Like, I care what people think about me. I'd be lying if I didn't. Like, obviously, I don't want
Right.
anyone to
You
hate
should,
me.
and I
Like,
feel like we should all care about
yeah, to a
how
certain
people
extent.
perceive us, right? To a certain
Yeah,
degree, especially
yeah,
if we're doing the right thing, right? If we're doing the right thing,
yeah,
I definitely care. I definitely
yeah.
want
And
you to
I, yeah, everyone wants to be liked as a business owner. And of course, you think about losing people. But the moment I spoke up, I'm like, if I lose someone, that's not who I want. That's not who I want, anyways. And for the most part, I think I already had a very like good following where, there wasn't hate, that was just more people who are like, I want to do better. Like, I am like ashamed that it's taken me this long. And they're like, thank you for like using your platform to like push out info. So that's what I was seeing it as. Like, I'm not doing anything better than anyone else. I just have a big following. So I'm like, okay, if I find a resource of anti-racism books, why wouldn't I share that to my feed so that thousands of people could see it? So that's what I looked at this platform as. It's like, it's not about me, Samantha Sommelier. It's just this device, this platform, this app is letting me reach 20,000 people. I'm going to make the most out of it and send them what's been helping me, because if something helps me, just if I like a wine, I'm not going to keep that to myself. Why would I
yeah,
keep a wine that I love to myself when I could share it with someone else? A wine region. Why would I keep that a hidden region from someone? Same thing with, learning about anti-racism and making an impact in real life. As myself, I want to make an impact in real life. I think so many other people do, and they're scared. And I'm just hoping that they just
yeah.
will
And
stop being
I,
scared.
I think you bring up a good point though too, right? Because I think a lot of times when people come to the table with this conversation about racism, race, diversity, um, I feel, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel sometimes that white people or non people of color, they don't want to come to the table because they feel like it's going to be a conversation about blame.
Mhm.
And it's going to be a conversation where we're saying, okay, well, you're racist because there's no black people at your party. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I feel like sometimes they don't want to come to the table because they're scared of that conversation, or the conversation is going to be like that, right? And
Mhm.
I'm not saying that there's something wrong with that conversation, because people, if they feel that way, they should voice that feeling, right? But then, like, let's talk about it. Let's walk through those feelings, right? Because if I said that to you, then you'd say, no, like, that wasn't the intent. Like, you know what? I went through my phone contacts and I'm sorry I didn't know you before, but that's what happened, you know? Um, but I just feel like we can't, no, we can't be afraid to have these conversations. We can't be afraid to share our feelings. And just
Mhm.
like you said about social media, we're on social media and we talk about, like, I'm the same way. Like, my mom will be like, don't post anything political, especially when you're
That's
in
what
South
my
America.
mom says.
Yeah, they're gonna kick you out the country or this and that. You know, don't post anything like your real feelings, because, but I think it's important because people see our lives. I know they see me and they see me drinking all the time, going to these wineries, having this fabulous time. And oh my God, thank you, Lord. I do have a fabulous life usually. Um, thank you.
Right.
But sometimes there are days when I'm struggling to like freaking take a shower. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because of
Yeah.
COVID, because of
Yeah.
everything that's going on. And I
Mhm.
feel like sharing those feelings is important,
Yeah.
um, because people have to be able to connect with you on all kinds of levels, and you
Mhm.
never know who's going through whatever it is that you're going through. So,
Yeah.
same
You know
thing
what?
with racism, you know?
I everything you said, I agree to the like white people taking blame, that defensiveness. I think it's just their human, our human nature of being defensive. And I think this is the time to not look at it that way and look at it as, you know, it's this is new to you because you've been sheltered. Like, okay, here's your reality check, you know, like you're an adult, do better, you know, and like so for me, I'm a really sensitive little butterfly, you know, and I'm the first to be like, oh my God, like they're mad at me, like, you know what I mean? So now I've taken a step back, and whenever someone like messages me or corrects me, I'm like, thank you. Like, you just
Yeah,
opened my eyes to something that I don't want to speak incorrectly. Like, if I made a mistake, I want to, it's okay, but I want to correct myself. So I'm like, thank you for telling me that. And I think you have to take a step back, go one, two, three. It's just like, it's an anxiety technique too. It's like whenever you feel attacked or you feel defensive, you just can't speak right away. You just got to give yourself a second. And I think being public figures online, like you and I are, you know, we put ourselves out there personally and professionally. No matter what, there's going to be haters, there's going to be people that criticize us to our face, behind the scenes, who knows. And I think if they're going to do that anyways, I might as well talk about things that matter. As much as like wine is fun and amazing, I mean, there's so much more to life. And if people are struggling, like, I'm not just going to pretend I'm just drinking wine and forgetting about the rest, you know? So I think that
right.
really resonated with me.
I think one thing for me though too is hard, and I don't know if you struggled with this in your business, but it was hard for me to say, you know, life goes, like, there's so much going on, and like, I am so happy and thankful for the people who are out there protesting, who continue to protest, and who continue to be a voice for um, racism and civil, not civil unrest. That's the result, but like, you know, fairness and equality and inclusion. I'm so happy for the people who continue to be that voice and who continue to protest. Please, like, continue. Please, I support you guys. But at the same time, it's like, I don't mean to be insensitive by saying, okay, listen, I know we're going through a lot. There's COVID, there's civil unrest, but can you buy a ticket to Diversity Wine Route?
I
I've
know
been
exactly
struggling
what
with that part because, you know, we have to eat. We still have to, like, and for me, protesting happens in so many ways, right? So protesting is not only going out to the streets, but it's also having platforms where you can deliver messages of inclusion and diversity. So,
Right. I totally understand what you mean. It's hard to go about business as usual when there's so much other like crap happening. Yeah. But I feel like we all have our duty and like our strengths on how to make an impact. Your strength right now is hosting this diversity wine festival. You know, you're bringing something fun and creative for people to focus on in such a negative time. And at the same time, you're promoting diversity. So it's like you are making an impact, and you're doing it in a way where we could, take a step back from COVID and all the negative things, and the hate going on, and we could drink wine and learn about wine from incredible people, learn stories, make memories together, and meet people virtually that we never would have known about before. So I think more than
Yes,
ever you should be promoting this, and I want to help bring light to it, because I think we need this. Like, we need to feel happiness still. Like, we need to have something to look forward to. We need to be connected with people in like good ways, like this.
yes.
I think this is a perfect time to be promoting this, but I definitely understand the hesitation of, promoting a product and all of that. But you're doing it the most amazing way and making an impact while you're doing it. So I really respect that.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so talk to me about like your business. Talk to me about some things that you have going on, some upcoming events, some things that you're doing online.
Yeah. So, I mean, in a nutshell, I've always been doing in-home tastings. And before COVID, I started taking them virtual, which I'm sure you've been doing virtual events for quite some time as well, considering your
No,
website. You just
I
added
just
all
started.
those? Oh
I
God,
just started
I'm gonna have
virtual
to,
to COVID. Yeah,
okay,
I've been.
that's impressive. That's
Yeah,
impressive,
because
because when I was looking at your website, I was like, damn, she's been doing these online things for a while. Cause like you had so many different like packages and stuff. And I was like, that's really cool. Like that's a goal of mine, is to make, actual packages, webinars that they could buy in advance. So I really like that. But I've just been doing virtual tastings where they'll book me for a private Zoom like this, for example, and then they could invite whoever they want on it. I will send them a tasting guide, grids, wine suggestions, and I'll tell them, instead of a specific producer, so say they're in Cape Town, say they're in Arizona, I'll say a Napa Cabernet, which most of the time you could find a Napa Cabernet in most places.
yeah.
So I'll give them region varietal suggestions as opposed to a specific producer. So that's been honestly the bulk of what I've been doing in COVID, is all these virtual tastings. I'll do upwards of like 8 a day, which has been amazing. I never would have done that before. So I've been able to connect with people from all over the world, and it's been a blessing for sure. Not that COVID's a blessing, but that virtual
Yeah,
part's.
yeah.
Um,
No,
and
and
then
it,
and then the other thing I do is I do brand mentoring. So going back to just what you and I both were talking about, being personal and professional, and just finding a good balance of transparency and going just past surface level of your brand and who you are. I help other people do that. So I work with mainly women, and people who, they don't necessarily need to be in wine. They could want to start, a blog. They could want to start, a cooking program, anything. I help them build their voice online. I help them be the person they are in real life online, on Instagram, because I know how hard it is to show your face on the camera, to get on an Instagram live, to get on a Facebook live, to actually connect with people over your phone is really intimidating. So I work with them on that, and I teach them, like, a strategy on how to be consistent, especially like you and I, when we're one woman show, we have to manage everything. I teach them, my ways of how I've done it, because I feel like if I have gotten better from a resource, why wouldn't I share it? I want to say I think I'm a very open book with what's helped me, and doing the brand mentoring has just helped me help people even more, as opposed to just doing a couple posts that give tips or something. So that's been really cool. A lot of people have been having downtime, because of working from home. So it's been giving them a reason to like start their side hustle. So that's been really cool, and connecting with more people. So now I'm even more motivated to keep this online momentum going post COVID, because I want to stay doing this. Like, I love being virtual, and it's easier because you don't have to drive time, and like I just think it's great. So I definitely am just learning a lot from you in general, just by like speaking with
miss my
you, looking at your website. So this is awesome.
I miss my in-person interaction, definitely 100%, but the virtual is pretty awesome. It's pretty
Yeah.
awesome to be able to just like talk to people all over the world at different times and just say, hey, listen, like we could do this.
Yeah.
But I do like what you said about like the wine tasting and the recommendations by regions and not necessarily by brands, because that's exactly what I do too.
I was gonna
I don't.
ask you how you did the wine. If you worked with someone like a distributor, what do you usually do?
I mean, I feel like Samantha, we are so similar, right? And so I've been so afraid to like really connect with like a particular brand or a particular distributor just because I feel like wine is so open and I don't want to limit myself to just one brand, right? I actually did voice. I don't even want to say their name, but you know, this one company where you do like sales for the company, um, wine sales for the company, and I didn't like it because I felt like I was more of like their sales rep, their
Yeah,
company instead of my own
it's
brand,
getting
and that's
ordered.
really hard because I
Yeah.
love my brand. I love what I
Mhm.
bring to the table, and I
Yeah.
love being able to say, you know what, I used to do wine over LA, the festival, right? And so
Yeah.
I would go out and I would get wines to do for Wine Over LA. Sometimes I'd work with some of my African American partners and get wines, but then like when I needed lots of wines because we got really really popular, I
Yeah.
remember my publicist called me and my publicist was like, "Tuanni, you got to go to the 99 cent store and you got to get some wine." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "No, we just saw the Bevmo truck drive by the store and unload boxes." And I was
Mhm.
like, "What?" And they were like, he was like, "Go over there right now." So I go over to the 99 cent store and they had this wine, and you know, it was, I looked it up on the wine. One of the brands was a Japanese wine. It was a Japanese white wine, not a sake, just like a Japanese white wine. And I poured it at LA Wine Fest, and people went crazy over this wine. I mean, it was delicious. It was drinkable, and
I
I
didn't
got
even
invited
know
to
that Japan had wines. That's so
Yes.
cool.
I mean, and so just to get back to your question, and so for things like that happen organically and naturally, and then like even if I'm in the grocery store and there's a wine that's on sale, or you know, if I find a wine partner that has a brand that price and a really good wine, I'll pour it at different events. And I don't want to be stuck with just, you know, working with one brand and having to sell their one brand, even though they could be delicious and awesome and wonderful. So yeah, that's
I
how I
really
find that's how I find my wines.
That makes me feel better because I always just felt like I was not doing something wrong, but like making it harder on me by not just working with like one brand, but like everything you said, I agree with. I don't want to limit myself because then it makes it about that winery when it needs to just be about that like the wine in general, and then that person and what they like and what they dislike. When you're working with one winery, it's a weird situation where if that person hates it, well, that's the only winery I work with, so that's not good.
Yeah,
So
like, do you want
yeah,
to try their? Yeah, do you want to
yeah,
try their Syrah? You didn't like their Cab, and they're like, I don't like their style of wine, and I'm like,
yeah,
gosh, you know, what do you do now?
yeah.
The only thing that I'm really stickler about is just making sure that I work with brands. I always work with brands that are made by people of color, women and people of color. So whenever I'm pouring, I will always have at least one brand from that group. But that's a pretty diverse group, you know what I mean? Like if I need a
Right.
sparkling wine, a red wine, and
You have a sort.
yeah, you know, if I need a Chardonnay from Napa, I have it. If I want a Chardonnay from Paso Robles or
Yeah.
from Sauvignon, I can get it. So
What do you do for virtual? How do you do that? Like how I recommend a region and a varietal. What will you do for your client when you're doing
exactly
virtual?
what it is. I have a shopping list. I have a menu, and then my menu includes like, you know, six wines with the actual like grape, and then the suggested region.
Okay.
In
And you'll
Cape
do the
Town, it's
suggestion.
a little hard, just because like in California it's easy, right? Because I can say, okay, go get a Sauvignon Blanc from Marlborough region. It's easy in
Sure.
California.
That's exactly the one I say. I say get a New Zealand Sauv Blanc.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, I Phil said, he said, okay, I'm making two of these wonderful women, and he just
Yeah.
made two of us.
I
But
say,
yeah, but in Cape Town it's a little bit more difficult just because
yeah,
international wines are a little bit pricier, and there's
right.
so many good wines in South Africa. I mean, so it's easier, but then it's harder. So you can't really do international wines, but it's easy to say, okay, if you want a Sauvignon Blanc, get it from like Elgin, or you know, I can say coastal region. You know, I can tell them the
Right.
region that
And
Africa.
you get it for them or are they responsible? So my clients are responsible for getting it themselves. Like I'll supply the suggestion and all of that, but then they go
Mhm.
buy that
the,
themselves. Okay.
the snacks and everything. They go and they get everything themselves. I
Okay.
mean, of course, I can get it for them, but then it's like a more premium cost.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Especially, well, for virtual too, like if you weren't doing delivery or anything like that, they'd have to.
Mhm.
But I like the idea of doing like a menu and like giving the region and the varietal. But I think what I'll start doing is add a specific suggestion if they do want to order, from online, because again, I want to do something to make, an impact, and I want to focus on more Black owned wineries, right? Especially women owned too. I'd like to give a suggestion and direct to the site. And then I'll say, like, if shipping is going to go, like, happen in time, like, I suggest ordering from here. Because I've been having a hard time with the shipping part. Because, say, someone books me for a tasting like Friday, like, they wouldn't be able to get the wine shipped in time. So that's why I always suggest just going to a local shop. I
Mhm.
don't know if you have a suggestion for that or just, having
You
them
know what
plan.
I do for that in the States? If I book a virtual tasting in the States, I'll actually, and they want some, because some people do want like specific examples of wines that they should get. So
Yeah.
I'll literally will go to Total Wines. Hey, Total
Mhm.
Wines, call me. But I'll go to Total Wines and I'll look to see what they have in that region, and then that's how I'll give them the
Smart.
wines. Get when they have the Arath Pinot, or they
Right.
have the Pinot from Oregon, because not all Total Wines in all areas have the same wines. So
Mm-hmm.
then that's what I'll do. I'll just go to like Total Wines, or Bevmo, or my favorite place is Trader Joe's, but Trader Joe's doesn't list their wines online.
I
Um,
love Trader Joe's. I'm a Trader Joe's wine guide.
I know, no, and that's what I'm saying. So like, I saw your wine guide, and I was like, oh my god, I used to have it on my website, but I don't have it anymore. But I had a Trader Joe's snack guide, so it was
Oh,
like
I
all
love that.
the bites that you should get to pair with the wines. Because I get for my tastings in person, I get
Yeah,
my snacks from Trader Joe's.
I love that. I would do that too. I love the idea that you give them snack suggestions for the virtual ones. You'll give them like
Yeah.
things and stuff because they always end up asking me anyways, like a follow-up email. And I'm like, I should just have like already like a list in place, especially when I keep recommending similar wines, similar varietals. So that's a
Mhm.
really good idea because everyone wants to be snacking on cheese while they're drinking their wine and
I know.
I'm talking about it.
But Samantha, I'm not trying to give away all my ideas, because you know what? I actually charge for this. So I actually teach how to host your own wine tasting class.
I saw
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I love it. No, it's okay. We both have our own spin to it. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, no, it's fine with you. You just call me offline, but I mean for everybody in the world, like take the class.
oh,
It's how to host your own wine tasting class. Yes, it's funny.
okay. I'm gonna stop asking her questions about her business. You guys could pay her. No, that's so funny you
Yeah,
say that
no,
because
right.
it's funny you say that because like I've been doing a lot of like Instagram lives, how you're doing like the Facebook live, and people will start asking me like so many specific questions that I answer in my virtual tastings. So I'm like, all right, no one's gonna pay me for a virtual tasting because I'm just giving out all my eggs right now.
And that's the fine line. But I
Yeah.
mean, I love sharing knowledge. So one of the things that I do here in Cape Town is I host this study group. It's for this organization called Black, and I volunteer for Black, and I host a study group every Tuesday and Thursday. And so it's so awesome because first we started off just like going through the WSET book chapter by chapter. We did that, and then I was like, oh my gosh, it would be so cool to have like a wine professional come in for each chapter and talk about what we're talking about. So when we talked about viticultural, I had like a vineyard manager come in and talk about managing the vineyard. And then when we talked about winemaking, I had a winemaker come. Then when we talked about like Cabernet, I had somebody who specialized in Cabernet, their winery specialized in Cabernet, come and talk. So it was so cool to just share all this knowledge,
Mhm.
and people were sauces. But I mean, I feel like sharing knowledge is like key. It's just key to making wine accessible to everyone, and I think that
Right,
that's the start. Just
right.
to loop it back around, that's the start to diversity in wine. Is just making sure that it's accessible through all this knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's been so great that people have been sharing, all the info on Black owned wineries, Black owned, just women winemakers in general. And I love seeing, I just really love the women focus, because like the one thought you said at the very beginning is just being a woman in the wine industry in general, in a sea of, white men. It's like when I went to wine school when I was 22, it was almost all men like in their 40s, and I was like the one 22-year-old girl, and like I was like, this is so weird. And I think that's why I wanted to be like, go to school and be certified, because I'm like, no one's going to take me seriously as a woman, 22 out of college doing tasting. So I almost like getting a bachelor's degree, I felt like I needed to get my credibility, which is a good thing in the long run. It's always good to have all of that. But yeah, I think even from 5 years ago to now, it's gotten so much more approachable. And I've seen so many other people and meeting other people like you who do what, I do, and make it approachable. And I think maybe there's always been those people, but I feel like now social media has really just opened up the doors to them.
Yeah, I think that there's always been people like me in the wine industry. Um, but now I'm so happy and so proud that people like me are getting so much more visibility. Like we're
Yeah.
getting um space in magazines like Wine Spectator, Wine Enthusiast. I feel like Wine Enthusiast has been a really champion in this. I mean, they
Mhm.
could definitely do better. They could probably feature me to do better. But anyway, we'll talk about that later, Wine Enthusiast. But I think that they've been a champion even before the civil unrest, even before all of this came to light, of featuring women and people of color in their magazine and giving us, pages in those magazines to say, hey, listen, we exist. And not in a, like they had their 40, do you remember their 40 over, the 40 under
40
40?
under 40, right? Don't they
Yeah,
do they do
40 under
40 under
40.
40? Then I thought they did 30 under 30. They did like two or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember the 40 under 40
Yeah.
because it was last year, I think it was 2019,
Mhm.
and they had like some stellar people in there, like some people who I was just like, oh my God, these people like freaking rock, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, a handful of them were people of color. So it was amazing.
Right.
And love to see more of that. More people on the platform. Somcom, I'd like to see. I've actually every single year, hopefully they'll take it this year, but every single year I submit to Somcom. You should have a panel on diversity in wine. You should have a panel where you feature like Black winemakers or, Native American, Latino winemakers. I can help you put this together.
Yeah.
Every year it's just like,
It's
So
this 2021 will be the year that they finally put that together and do it. Like,
I
what I mean?
hope
Like,
so. I hope so.
it's annoying that I feel like you did that every year and now it took till now. But I guess, I mean, I'm sure you agree, at least there's been like change. Like at least some people are finally like not just talking the talk, like they're gonna walk the walk and like,
You're
make
gonna
that
walk the walk. And the reason that I feel like it's so important too, and I'm not saying like do it just because, I'm saying do it because you want to match the market, right? And
difference.
so I'm not saying okay, include these wines that are made by Black people because just because. I'm saying do it because you want to match the market. If you look at the numbers in sales and you look at what population is increasing year over year of wine consumption, it's women, it's Black women, it's Latino. The Latino population is huge, and like to ignore that and not to make sure that it's included and represented in SOMCOM is not really representing what's happening in the wine world as far as wine consumption is happening.
Yeah.
So
That's a
that's
really good point, like on catering specific numbers too, and like that just brings it to this whole new level of like you're not even helping yourselves if when you're not, you're not doing like what's best for like the overall industry. Yeah,
yeah. So let me help you help. Let me help you help yourself.
yeah, I love that. I love that. And I hope that for that wine bloggers conference that happens every year, all of those should all have a diversity panel. Like it should
Yeah,
just
I
be.
think. Have you been to the Wine Bloggers Conference?
I went to the one that was in Walla Walla a few years ago. Did you go to that
Yeah.
one?
I didn't go to that one. The one that I went to, and I love the Wine Bloggers Conference. I went to the one that was in Santa Rosa a couple years
Okay.
ago, and yeah, and that one was really cool. But they did try. I think that they've tried to have like some panels on diversity in wine, and they've had some more diverse panels for the Wine Bloggers Conference.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I do. I like that conference. How was it in Walla Walla?
It was good. It was very like packed, which it's like it's a good thing. I just remember I was just like going from like thing to thing, but it was really fun. And then I was gonna go to the one in Australia that they were doing in 2019, but I got married that month. So I'm like, oh, I can't
Oh,
afford to get married and go to Australia, but that would have been cool.
well, congratulations on your wedding. But yeah,
Thanks.
I love the Wine Bloggers Conference. That was my first time going, and I wanted to go more often, but like it's just kind of hard with my travel between South Africa, and then by the time I get back to America, there's like so many other things going on. But yeah, I looked at that Walla Walla when I was gonna go to the Walla Walla, but I had some good friends that went.
How often do you come back to LA?
So usually I'm there like by June. So usually I
Okay.
spend January to June I'm in Cape Town, and then June to December I'm in LA. But
Okay.
because of COVID, there's no commercial flights. There's no domestic or commercial flights, international flights.
Oh
So I'm
wow.
not sure when they're gonna open up the borders. But it's not. Look at this. This is not a bad place to
Yeah,
be.
I'd rather be in Cape Town. So Phoenix is like the new hub for COVID. So like
No,
it's
so
like
Phoenix is like the New York, the new New York.
it's like
Wow.
triple. Yeah. It's weird because it's like we opened, like, everyone like went back to normal, but wear masks. And then, Memorial Day happened and all of that. People took it too far and now everyone's sick. So it's crazy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So they're opening really, really slowly. So one thing that was really terrible about Cape Town, the only bad thing about Cape Town is they have levels. And so during level 5 and level 4, there was no selling of alcohol. So you couldn't buy wine, you couldn't buy spirits, you can't buy cigarettes, and I don't smoke, so that's no big deal. But you couldn't buy wine and alcohol. And so luckily I had enough wine to last me level 5. But then by the end of
You
level
had your
4,
storage, your wine storage. I love that.
yeah, but by the end of level 4, I was like running out of wine. I was like I think I was down to like one bottle, and then my neighbor bought me a bottle
Why
over.
do they do that? Why do they do that?
Well, domestic violence, violence against women, which is a terrible, terrible situation out here. It's terrible, but there's a lot of domestic violence against women, and so they were thinking that if people had access to drinks, then like to alcohol, then they would probably have more domestic. They do see a correlation between like alcohol and then domestic violence.
But
So that was
That was a COVID law though. That
it
wasn't
was COVID.
happening.
No, no, it was COVID. Yeah, so it was part of COVID. So like
Right.
during COVID, they didn't want people to be locked up at home because
Right.
the lockdown was serious. It wasn't like it was in the United States. Like literally, streets were empty. Streets were absolutely empty. I live right in the middle of like Cape Town, like kind of like if you lived in downtown LA,
Right.
and there was nobody in the streets for months. Um, so the only places that you were allowed to go were to the grocery store or the hospital or the
Yeah.
banks. Those were the only things that were open. No
So people are
restaurants, not
probably
even
going
for
super
takeout.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. In Arizona, probably not a good thing, but it looks like nothing's wrong. People are like at the car wash, like just doing just like
Yeah.
random things. And I'm like, all right, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, and I mean, and you just don't know. I'm curious to see how the world is going to look this time next year. Like what we're going to be doing, what's going to be open. I do feel like there's going to be a lot of changes. Like, the wine world is going to change. I miss going to wineries. Like, one of the reasons that I moved to Cape Town specifically was because I'm like 35 minutes from wine country.
Mhm.
So I miss going to wine country. I miss going to tasting rooms. And when the
Right.
tasting rooms do open, they're like, how's that going to look? How is that going to feel like when we do get to go tasting again?
I
So
think it's just going to be a new normal that we're all just going to have to get used to a different world. Because even just going to the restaurants now, even though they're open, it still doesn't feel like it feels like I'm doing something wrong. I'm like, should I even be here? Even though it's open, and then the server's in a mask, and like you're separated, and it's just all just new things that don't feel like you could just let yourself go and relax as you would go somewhere. It's like I might as well just be drinking wine on my couch, so I don't feel like I can't touch anything.
And I used to have like this apartment that I have in Cape Town. It's an amazing apartment, but I got this apartment because I used to host wine events in my apartment, and then I also used to host like friends and stuff over, right? Like that
Yeah.
was my thing. Like my thing is having friends over, eating, drinking, and when will that happen again, or if that'll happen again? Now I'm like, okay, the guest list is six, like six people, no more than six people, and then I'm like, those six people, like when you come to my building, they're checking your fever, they're spraying you
Right.
down. So
Having
it's
like a new protocol for it. Yeah. And
it's
just
a new
thinking of
world.
like the weddings that are gonna still happen in Arizona in the fall, like it's so weird. And no one knows. So everyone feels like out of control, right? So it's just like so many emotions on feeling anxiety and depression because of all of it. It's if you think
Yes.
about it too much, it's like you just can't. If you think about it too much, you just like curl up and you can't like do
You
your
can't.
normal
Or
day.
either that, or you rebel and then you go out to the Arizona or the Las Vegas pool party and you just like go crazy,
You
right? So I
get
think you
shit
have those.
faced. You're like, I don't care. COVID's gonna be happening anyways.
Yeah.
Take shots with
So
people.
it's like you have two extremes. Either you're curling up in a ball in your house or you're going out in your so
Yeah,
finding that middle ground, and that's what I'm hoping to like the virtual events that we have is that middle ground. It's like where
yeah,
you can connect with people and you
yeah.
can drink. You can feel like a little sense of normal life. So
Right. Human connection and just, yeah, feeling like you're still with the people you love and all of that, I think is so important. And I think the virtual tastings really have done that for people and have made a difference. So, even though, you're not curing cancer, like you're, spreading joy and you're spreading love and wine and connecting people. And I think that's, beautiful in a world right now that needs that. So,
I think that's a perfect way to actually just like end the call. We are at our hour mark, but like Samantha summed it up. That's exactly what we're doing online. Is spreading joy and love through wine. Before we end the call though, but let me just see on Facebook if we have any questions. Or Monica, do you have any questions? Let's see.
Samantha, thank you for this conversation. You're such a cool person. I followed you on Instagram.
oh, thank you. I'll follow you back. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
That's a good point. Let's give everybody your Instagram. It's super easy. So it's Samantha Sommelier.
Yep.
Just type in
Yep.
Samantha Sommelier and you will find
And
Samantha. Find her on Instagram. Join her.
I know,
Look
and I
for
just
her.
followed your podcast page too. I didn't know you had that one, so I made sure I followed all three.
Yeah, Abroad Drinking Wine. I do have the podcast. I need to update it. I haven't updated it. I have so much
Yeah, I love
content. I
that.
have
I
so
think
much
it's
content to put on there too.
yeah, it's good to have all those different outlets, especially right now. And I look forward to doing something together soon and just figuring out how we could be, long-term friends and connections in the industry. And obviously I want to continue to be the best ally that I could be. So if there's anything that I could do to help bring more awareness to diversity, let me know. I'm gonna be sharing some swipe up links to my page and just spreading the word, and I'm going to talk about it on my feed and stuff and getting the message out there because I think a lot of people are going to really want to do this.
Yay! Thank you so much, Samantha. I appreciate that. I really do. And I will reach out to you. And again, if you need anything too, we are allies, we are friends. Let's try to have some kind of tasting online so like we can just show people, bring people into the fold, like taste
Yes,
with
I
us.
love that.
So
Yes,
that it's so
definitely.
fun and approachable. Wine is not the enemy. Wine is our friend.
Exactly. We need our wine right now more than ever, and for it to make us happy. So yes, it was so good
Yes.
speaking with you, and we'll stay in touch. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Monica, for joining.
Thank you, Monica. Get some rest now. It's 4
I,
a.m.
yes,
Thank you.
I am. Alrighty, bye, you guys.
Bye. Good night.
Bye-bye.